When my mother-in-law found out that her husband had been critically injured in a car crash, she suffered a massive heart attack. The only one who could save her was my wife, the heart surgeon. I frantically called her, but her ex-boyfriend answered. "Emily's tied up right now. What's the urgency?" He said. Desperate, I shouted. "Put Emily on the line now." Irritated, my wife responded. "Can you chill? I've been slammed all day. Can I catch a break and have a drink in peace?" She hung up abruptly. I tried calling back, but her phone was off. An hour later, both my mother-in-law and her husband had passed away. Her situation was critical. My wife's coworker spotted me dazed outside the emergency room and yelled, "What are you waiting for?" Torn because of the husband's condition post-crash, I felt stretched too thin. I had already tried calling, but got no answer. I was a bundle of nerves, constantly redialing her number. Finally, it connected. "Emily, get over to the hospital now. Both your mom and dad. They're fading fast." The call was cut off. I tried again, but her phone was now off. Overwhelmed with anger and worry, I punched the wall in the hallway. They had always treated me like family. There was no way I could just let go. When the ER doctor finally emerged, I quickly briefed him on the situation and asked him to keep me posted. I then rushed off to find Emily. I remember Emily once mentioned her ex, Matt, who lived close by in Harmony Gardens. On my drive there, anxiety almost had me crashing into the car ahead several times. Upon reaching the complex, I immediately saw them exiting a convenience store. Matt was carrying takeout and beers while Emily walked beside him, both of them giggling like they were on a first date. When a delivery bike whizzed by, Matt instinctively wrapped his arm around Emily, murmuring, "Careful there." Emily giggled, looking down shyly. My heart sank, but I had no time to dwell on jealousy. "Emily, thank God I found you." I rushed towards her. Her smile vanished, her brows knitted. "Steve, what's this about? Are you tracking me now?" I had no time to waste. I grabbed her hand firmly. "We need to go now." She pulled her hand back sharply. Her expression hardened. "Why are you being so dark? Don't make up terrible things about my parents." I understood her disbelief, given the sudden news. With no time to spare, I got straight to the point. "Your dad's been in an accident, and your mom had a heart attack from the shock. We need to move now." I was just on the phone with Dad. "He's fine, just playing chess at the neighbors." "How could he be in an accident? Mom's checkup was clear last week. No way she had a heart attack. You've got to do better than that if you're lying." She looked at me like I was out of my mind. "I'm not lying. Please just trust me." As I spoke, Matt moved to protect her, as if I might snatch her away. "Steve, why go to such lengths? Emily wanted to chill with me. Why drop such harsh words about her folks?" Before I could clarify, he added, "They love you like a son, and you repay them with this? Man, that's low. Even I'm losing respect for you now." He took Emily's hand, pulling her away. "I'm out of patience. Get back home already." Emily dismissed me with a wave. She looked cold and dismissive, as if I were nothing more than an annoyance. At that moment, all I could focus on was getting her to the hospital. The doc had warned that her dad might not pull through, and Emily was the only hope for her mom. My ego was totally irrelevant right now. I bolted over to stop Emily, desperation cracking my voice. "I swear I'm not lying. Your mom and dad are in deep trouble. Please just come with me." She looked skeptical, so I pulled out my phone with trembling hands. "Don't believe me? I'll call your colleague right this second." Emily's eyes sparked with anger. If it were true, I would have heard by now. I wanted to explain that her phone was off. How could anyone reach her? But before I could speak up, Matt interjected. He scoffed. "Run out of tall tales, have you? Look, I know you're green with envy because Emily's here with me. We're just buddies, dude. You don't need to go all Psycho X on us. Come on, be a bigger man. Playing dirty with her folks' lives? That's just vile." He stood there, arms crossed, looking down his nose at me, as if he had the moral high ground. But he was the last person to preach. Mind your own business. Anger bubbled over, and I lost all pretense of calm. A reasonable guy would have zipped it by now. But Matt? No chance. He turned to Emily, putting on a victim's face. "See, Emily? I was spot on about him." Emily's face turned stormy. "What's with you? Why can't you just back off? I just wanted to unwind with Matt. And you're making a mountain out of a molehill. I've been slammed at work, finally got a break, and I can't chill with a friend? Ever heard of giving space? Matt's just being decent, and you're treating him like trash. Is this how you treat people?" She was all up in my face, her finger nearly poking my nose. I didn't have time to argue, not with her parents hanging by a thread. I pushed down the rising turmoil inside. Sweating, I wiped my brow and pleaded in a low voice. "They're in the ER. Your parents? Are you really going to ignore them for a drink? Emily paused, seeming to catch the sincerity in my voice. Emily, look, it's our old school friends. Matt pointed excitedly at a nearby restaurant through the large glass windows. A couple inside noticed them and waved. What are the odds? Haven't seen them in ages. Let's catch up. Emily started to leave, but I grabbed her desperate. We're running out of time. Your parents are waiting for you. You're their only kid. Don't miss saying goodbye to your dad. Don't just watch your mom pass away. Matt was relentless, his tone icy. Steve, you done with your drama? Enough already. He started pulling Emily away. She chose him. The thought of them potentially dying alone crushed me. Tears flooded my eyes, and I dropped to my knees. Emily, if I'm lying, let the sky fall on me. Emily paused, clearly torn. Steve, can you ever just let it go? Emily had always been patient, avoiding fights with you. Why can't you let her have some downtime with friends? Does her life have to be all about work and dealing with you? Matt was visibly agitated, acting like I was the villain of the century. His look of disgust was plain as day. He took a deep breath and then said with a shaky voice, maybe you should just go with him, Emily. I'll smooth things over with our friends. After all, a husband matters more than friends, right? Without another word, he headed towards the restaurant across the street, not looking back. His tactic worked like a charm. Emily dropped everything and ran after him. As she stormed off, she threw a fierce warning over her shoulder. Not next time. You dare curse my parents, and we're through. No matter how loudly I called after her, she wouldn't stop. How could such wonderful parents have raised someone so cold and stubborn? A simple phone call could confirm the truth, yet she stubbornly refused to make it. Torn between her parents and her first love, her heart had long since tipped towards him, and there was no looking back. How could she be so sure I was lying? After all our years together, didn't she trust me at all? The doctor called in a panic. Charles and Margaret are fading fast. Why aren't you here yet? I raced to the car, speeding back to the hospital. Charles didn't make it. He was gone by the time I arrived. Holding back tears, I went to see Margaret. The life support was off. She lay there, gasping for her last breaths, silently waiting. Hearing my footsteps, she slowly turned her head. When she realized I was alone, the faint light in her eyes flickered out. Where's Emily? I couldn't bear to look into her eyes, my hands shaking as I held hers. If I had known I couldn't bring Emily back, I wouldn't have left. I could have been there for them a little longer. I couldn't tell her that Charles was gone, nor could I say that her beloved daughter was out drinking and laughing with her old flame. Mom, Emily's tied up with a patient and couldn't break away. That's a doctor's duty. I don't blame her. Emily had always excelled, from grade school through to a combined undergrad and grad at a top medical school. Her parents' pride. Yet now I felt nothing but heartache. I hated that I couldn't bring Emily back, and I resented that she only listened to Matt. Steve, you've been a good son. I just wish I could see Emily one more time. Those were Margaret's last words in her final moments. All she wanted was to see her daughter, Emily. But where was Emily? She was reliving the good old days with her first love. I fought back tears, but they came anyway. I tried calling Emily again. No answer. Fighting through my grief, I took care of Charles and Margaret's final arrangements. They had lived modestly and didn't want a big fuss, just a quiet farewell. I arranged for their cremation and had their ashes placed together. Life is fleeting. In an instant, 2 vibrant lives were gone. On my way home, I called Emily several more times. Still no answer. She hadn't gone to work and was still with Matt. Holding the urns, I sat on the living room sofa, haunted by memories of Charles and Margaret's warm smiles. Tears flowed freely once more. Later that afternoon, as I headed out to select their burial plots, I ran into Emily downstairs. She stepped out of Matt's car, their goodbye lingering, their eyes nearly melting into each other. Spotting me, Emily's smile vanished, replaced by a frosty expression. Where are you off to? I tried to bypass her, but she grabbed my arm fiercely. Noticing the black armband I wore, she asked, puzzled, "Why are you wearing that?" She grabbed my arm, staring directly at the black armband with a puzzled expression. "Why are you wearing that?" she asked, as if it was just a casual curiosity. I took a deep breath, trying to hold back the wave of emotions threatening to overwhelm me. But I couldn't. The pain, the anger, and the exhaustion all came crashing down at once. "Why am I wearing this?" I repeated, my voice trembling. "You really don't know, do you?" She let go of my arm, taking a step back, probably noticing the intensity in my eyes. "Steve, what are you talking about?" she asked defensively, as if she were the victim here. I took a step forward, pointing at the car she had just stepped out of. You were too busy with him to care, weren't you? While you were laughing, drinking, and having fun, your parents were dying. Her face turned pale, but there was still a hint of disbelief. What do you mean? My parents are fine. You were just exaggerating, making excuses to stalk me. Exaggerating? I snapped. Margaret and Charles, the people who raised you, who supported you at every single step of your life, died while you were busy reliving the good old days with Matt. She blinked a few times, as if trying to process what I had just said. No, that can't be true. You must be lying. My laugh came out bitter and full of pain. Lying? Why the hell would I lie about something like this? Why would I make up the fact that your parents, the only people who ever loved you unconditionally, are gone? She stepped back, shaking her head. I was busy. You don't understand the pressure I'm under at work. Work? I interrupted. It wasn't work that kept you away. It was Matt. I called you. I begged. I screamed for help. And what did you do? You hung up the phone so you could keep laughing with him. Tears started welling up in her eyes, but there was no room for pity at that moment. They died asking for you. The last thing your mom said was that she wanted to see you one last time. But you chose him. It's always him. She tried to respond, but I cut her off again. Did you know your dad didn't make it before I even got there? Did you know your mom died thinking you were busy saving lives because I couldn't bring myself to tell her you were out drinking with some guy who never cared about your family? I didn't know, she stammered, but her voice was weak. You didn't know because you chose not to know. I gave you every chance to do the right thing, but you ignored them all. You laughed in the face of tragedy while they were lying in a hospital, fighting for their lives. And now you have the audacity to ask why I'm wearing this. She started crying for real now, covering her face with her hands, but I wasn't finished. You know what's worse? It's not just your absence. It's the way you treated me like I was crazy. You chose to believe a guy who manipulates you, who uses nostalgia to keep you around, instead of trusting the man who was desperate to save your family. She looked at me, tears streaming down her face, but she had nothing to say. I took care of everything, Emily. I arranged the funeral. I held their hands while they passed. I was the son you should have been, and you were an absent daughter. She tried to step closer, maybe to touch me, but I stepped back. Don't touch me. I don't want your pity or your empty apologies. I want you to look in the mirror and see the person you chose to be. Because honestly, I don't recognize you anymore. She sobbed now, her words coming out in broken fragments. Steve, I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything. Not to me, at least. Go to their graves and tell them why you weren't there. Explain to them how Matt was more important. She collapsed to her knees, sobbing uncontrollably, but I couldn't feel sorry for her. The image of Margaret asking for her in her final moments was burned into my mind. I hope Matt was worth it, because honestly, after this, I don't see how we can move forward. Without looking back, I walked past her and into the building. Deep down, I knew those words were true. Something inside me had broken, and I no longer had the energy to fix it. As I was walking away, feeling the unbearable weight of everything that had happened, I heard her phone ring. I didn't want to know anything more. I was too exhausted. But she, in an automatic reflex, answered and put it on speakerphone. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe she was too lost to realize I was still nearby. Hey, Matt, she said, her voice still shaky from crying. His voice came through cheerful, as if nothing in the world had changed. Hey, babe. So, all set for tomorrow? I've already made the reservation. It's going to be amazing. I stopped dead in my tracks. My blood ran cold, and for a second, I almost turned around to confront her. She took a deep breath and responded, her voice now heavy with a weight that hadn't been there before. Matt, my parents died. I'm not okay. There was silence on the other end. For a brief moment, I hoped, he would show some shred of humanity. But then his response came cold and casual. What? You actually believe that lie Steve told you? I told you he'd make something up just to keep you around. I turned to look at Emily and saw her eyes widen in shock. The phone was still on speaker, and her expression shifted from pain to fury in an instant. No, Matt, she said sharply. They really died. Another silence. I could almost hear his thoughts racing, searching for a way to spin this in his favor. And then, with an absurd nonchalance, he said, Oh, that's too bad. I'm sorry, really, but so, are we still going out, or are you canceling over something as natural as that? I mean, everyone loses their parents sooner or later. I saw Emily close her eyes, as if trying to absorb the sheer absurdity of what he had just said. The shock quickly turned into pure indignation. Natural? Her voice was shaking with rage. You think my parents' death is just a damn natural thing? That's not what I meant. I just mean life goes on, you know? They were old anyway, he said, chuckling nervously, trying to downplay it. Emily gripped the phone so tightly I thought she might break it. Go to hell, Matt. You're a piece of garbage. I gave up everything for you, ignored my family, humiliated Steve, and for what? For this? To hear that my parents' death is nothing more than a natural event? Emily, relax, you're overreacting. Overreacting? She yelled. I left everything for you. You made me believe that Steve was suffocating me, that I needed space. And all this time, you were just using me to boost your pathetic ego. The anger and pain in her voice were almost tangible. She squeezed the phone even tighter and then, without hesitation, ended the call and threw the phone onto the ground as if trying to rid herself of him for good. I watched in silence, still feeling the chill from what I had just heard. Emily stood there, staring into nothing, her shoulders shaking. For the first time in a long time, I saw a vulnerable Emily, a broken Emily. And despite everything, despite what she had put me through, I couldn't just ignore her. I took a hesitant step towards her. Let's go home. She lifted her teary eyes to me, filled with guilt and sorrow. And for a second, she hesitated. Then, she slowly nodded without saying a word. I picked up her phone from the ground and put it in my pocket, as if that could help her walk away from that mistake. On the way back, the silence was heavy, suffocating. She curled up in the passenger seat, staring out the window, lost in thought. I knew she was punishing herself, replaying every wrong choice she had made, every moment she chose Matt over facing reality. When we arrived home, she stood at the door, unable to bring herself to enter. I didn't know what to say because part of me was still furious with everything she had put me through. But the other part, that foolish part that still cared, just wanted to make sure she was okay. Do you want me to stay? I asked, without looking directly at her. She nodded, unable to speak. So, I stepped inside with her, closing the door behind us. She collapsed onto the couch, holding her head in her hands, and finally, the sobs came, uninhibited. I stood there, watching, wondering if I would ever be able to forgive her for all of this. But for now, I just sat down beside her. Not as her husband, not as someone who was still angry, but as someone who knew what it was like to lose people who mattered. And no matter how many mistakes she had made, no one deserved to go through this alone. The following days were a whirlwind of silence. The house, once filled with conversations and plans, now felt like an empty space heavy with memories. Emily spent most of her time in the bedroom, lying on the bed, staring at the ceiling, or quietly crying. I, on the other hand, wandered through the house in silence, trying to organize my thoughts and find some kind of peace amidst the emotional chaos. I wanted to feel anger. I wanted to hate her for what she did, for how she treated me, for abandoning everything we built together for a pathetic illusion with Matt. But deep down, I knew that anger wouldn't change anything. It wouldn't bring Charles and Margaret back. What she did was betrayal, not just as a wife, but as a daughter. She abandoned the people who loved her the most in their most critical moment, and that was something time couldn't erase. During those days, I watched Emily try to make amends in small ways, making coffee in the morning, attempting to engage in casual conversations as if things could go back to normal. But they couldn't. I knew it. She knew it. Every glance we exchanged carried an unbearable weight, an unspoken understanding that something within us had shattered beyond repair. I knew I had to make a decision, and it wasn't just for myself. I had to do it because staying together after all this would be silent torture for both of us. One night, while I was packing away some of the boxes from the funeral, Emily walked into the living room and stood at the doorway, watching me with red, tired eyes. Steve, her voice was weak, hesitant. I stopped what I was doing, not looking up. I know, I said calmly before she could continue. We need to talk. She took a deep breath, nodding slowly as she walked over to sit on the couch. I remained standing for a moment, looking at her, trying to find the right words. Emily, I don't want to be cruel to you. I know you're hurting, and I don't want to make things harder. But what happened to all of this? I can't ignore it. She bit her lip, clutching her hands tightly. I know I hurt you, Steve. I was blind. I was selfish. It's not just that, I interrupted softly. You made a choice. You chose him. You chose that life. I tried, Emily. I tried reaching out to you in every possible way, and yet you treated me like I was just an obstacle in your life. She lowered her head, silent tears streaming down her face. I regret it so much. I sat down beside her, but I kept my distance. I believe you. I know you regret it, but it doesn't change the fact that I can't look at us the same way anymore. I can't forget what happened. I can't forget how you chose someone who clearly never cared about you while your parents were dying." She sobbed, covering her face with her hands. "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," I sighed. "I've already decided. I want a divorce, Emily." Her head shot up quickly, as if she had expected to hear something else. But when she saw the firmness in my expression, she realized there was no going back. "I understand," she murmured. "You have every right to hate me." I shook my head. "I don't hate you. That's why I'm trying to do this as peacefully as possible. You're grieving, and so am I. I don't want to make this harder than it already is." She sat in silence, staring at the floor, absorbing my words. What do I do now?" she whispered. "You take care of yourself," I said, standing up. "You process all of this, learn from your mistakes, and move on." She nodded slowly, unable to meet my eyes. "I never wanted this to happen, but it did," I said, walking toward the door. "I'll sleep on the couch tonight. Tomorrow we'll figure out the paperwork." Before leaving the room, I heard her shaky voice. "Thank you for not hating me." I paused for a second, but didn't respond. I just walked out, knowing that was the best goodbye I could offer. In the following days, we handled the divorce paperwork with the same cold detachment necessary to close a chapter that was once full of love. There were no fights, no accusations, just two strangers dealing with the consequences of wrong choices. When I finally signed the papers, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. For the first time in a long time, I took a deep breath without feeling a knot in my chest. Emily, on the other hand, seemed lost. There was nothing I could do for her now. We each had to fight our own battles. The day I left the house for the last time, she stood at the door, watching me go with eyes filled with regret. "Take care of yourself, Emily," was all I could say before walking away. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I knew that some things would never be the same again. But at least I was free to start over.